Edmonton Oilers get absolutely demolished in game number 3, 6-1, as the Florida Panthers take a 2-1 series lead in the 2025 Stanley Cup Final. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show, live on location at Boston Pizza Westgate. Tom Gazzola and Jolene Latimer with you. Jolene, of course, from The Score. Hernan Salas back at EST Global HQ. Matt Cassian, our game analyst, will be joining us momentarily. Of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Join the conversation. Text us 780-218-9999. Of course, get to the nasty chat, Jolene. It's going to be a disaster tonight.
Can't wait.
Buckle up. All right. Awful game for the Oilers.
Not a good one.
Absolutely horrendous. Worst case scenario. It started bad. Special teams sucked. Attention to detail, awful. Goaltending couldn't get a save. Lack of focus. It all went off the rails in a hurry.
It did.
What were the keys to you, and why it went so bad so quickly?
Well, I was making a list as the game went
As
on.
one does.
Oilers good, bad. Panthers good, bad. I don't have anything to put under the good column for the Oilers.
Literally, there's nothing under the good column.
There's nothing.
Lots of bad.
There's lots of bad. I could have been more. I ran out of room.
Yeah.
So I feel like just a general overall lack of poise. I don't know if I jinxed it from the pregame because I said this is elite hockey. You're going to watch some of the best hockey you might see in a long time. And it was not that at all. I might have done that to you guys. I put a jinx on it because it was just sloppy and not fun to watch.
A lot of people very upset with the Edmonton Oilers tonight, and rightly so. We do want to hear from you. Text to 780-218-9999. I'll float this out there and take it how you want to, but you know, Edmonton were looking for a bounce back. Tough loss in double overtime to the Panthers in game 2, and I really, and listen, everybody top to bottom for Edmonton was bad tonight, but I thought Evander Kane set this thing down the wrong path early for the Edmonton Oilers. Cross-checking penalty, end of a power play, high sticking penalty on Marchand. Marchand did sell it really well. It's what he does. He's a wily veteran, and he knows if the opposition player's stick gets out there, you kick your head back, these refs are going to call it. The timing of those penalties, both of them happened in the offensive zone. Those were bad penalties, and I really thought Evander Kane had a big-time negative impact on the Oilers early, and that was part of why it went in the wrong direction for the team. What would you say to that?
Yeah, so if I'm counting right, were there 3 offensive zone penalties in the first period, and then there was that too many men on the ice?
Yeah. I pinpointed Kane because he took 2 of them.
Yeah, he carried that poor performance throughout the rest of the game. But I was gonna ask you if that's where you thought the rails started to come off.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Both teams were ready. They were engaged, and I thought that he was the one that kind of got them off their game, allowed Florida to get some rhythm with the power plays, and eventually they scored. So let's bring in the Latino Heat. I'm curious to hear. The Latino Heat's not going to be a happy camper. Nanso, lay it on us, brother, because I feel like what you're going to say is going to resonate with everybody. Like it usually does.
I think Jolene said it. Like there's not one player I can pinpoint to right now for the Oilers that had a good game. Like I look at Podkolzin, horrible turnover for a goal. I look at John Klingberg, -3 on the night, guilty for 1 goal when he fell there by the linesman. I look at Leon Draisaitl, and it's hard to be harsh on Leon because he's so great most of the time. Tom, you know how many shots he had on net?
0. The
power play, not good enough. I mean, 1 for 6. The PK again. Listen, I know there was 11 penalties. A lot of those came late in the game. The PK's got to be better. In every facet of the game tonight, guys, the Oilers had to be better. They no-showed. I mean, good for Florida. They took advantage of all their opportunities. But I'm with you, Tom. And I think Lieutenant Eric said it to me. And he said it perfectly. The Oilers lost a street fight tonight. From the first period on, guys, every scrum, the Oilers were angry. They had anger, and they were trying to get at the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers were laughing in the first period, guys, at them.
Yes.
They lost the street fight tonight. The Florida Panthers, they played them tonight. They played them to a T. They got under their skin in the first period, and it didn't stop. And you brought up Evander Kane. He's got to be better. He's coming off an interview where he goes, I got to be composed. I can't be taking 2, 5, and 10s. Control your stick and listen. Penalties are penalty. The officials are awful, guys.
They're always bad.
They call 7 penalties in the first. They don't call 1 in the second when there could have been 5. And this is going both ways. I'm not sitting here saying the Oilers got screwed or anything like that. I'm not. And then they call a Chinsey call on a cross check at the end of the second. The officiating in these playoffs has been atrocious, and that's not why the Oilers lost. Let me be clear. But at the end of the day, Jolene said it off the hop. There's not one good thing to say about the Oilers tonight. They were awful.
Yeah.
But Tom, this team has shown us time and time again they can bounce back. I'm not worried about Game 4. I don't think there's going to be a goaltending change because everybody's blaming Skinner for all 5 goals.
Are they really? What about the 6th one? That was his fault too, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, 2
We
snipes.
can at least. I mean, I feel like the penalty and the goal right after that.
He was done.
Yeah, that
he was meant
he
to
does,
be
at least deserves the blame for that one for sure.
And that's fine. Tommy, I was sitting with Dusty in the first goal. We were like, oh, Skinner, that was a bad one. But a breakaway again. That's 4 breakaways in the last 2 games. A brilliant setup on the power play. Brilliant. Like a backhand pass no one saw coming. And then 2 snipes. Sure, of course you want your goaltender to stop it, but we got to stop. And with this whole stuff that everything is on Stuart Skinner, the whole team was bad. And that includes Stuart Skinner tonight.
I was going to say this for Oiler fans who want something to look on the bright side.
Okay.
And by the way, I realize we have some Oiler fans in California who are tuning in.
Yep.
People who are Oiler fans who are just I think it's so cool. Everyone who tunes in who's not from Edmonton, who has roots in Edmonton, you guys are watching right now. So thank you for watching. I will say this: over the past 20 years, only 2 Stanley Cup Finals have featured teams to rotate wins through the first 3 games. So that's only happened twice. So it never.
Which ones were those?
2019 and 2004. So statistically, we were going to lose this one. We lost it in spectacular fashion. Doesn't matter how you lose it though, but it was statistically going to be lost. So if you can flush that and just say, okay, well, it's almost like you drop one on the road. Like going on a road trip, you want to split. You don't expect to sweep on the road. So
they bottomed out tonight.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A loss is a loss. Doesn't matter if you did it in the worst way. I think you can rebound. That's my only bright side that I say we could look on.
You make a good point. It was something that I did want to talk about at some point in the show. Is I've had friends text me, peers from other markets, be like, "Oh, this team, they're done," and then the diehard Oiler fans being like, "Oh yeah, it's over." It's like, really? You give up? You know the Oilers beat Florida 8-1 and 5-1 when they mounted the comeback in last year's Stanley Cup Final. And guess who ended up winning that Stanley Cup Final? Not Edmonton. And somehow Florida found a way to bounce back. So they got whooped. They got their asses kicked from head to toe. They sucked the hind banana, as the late, great Pat Quinn once said. Dust yourself off and go back and play a better game on Thursday. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, you don't expect to go on a road trip and win both games. You just want to win one. They lost it terribly. But
Jolene, they the bed tonight.
Hey guys, let me throw this stat at you, courtesy of my boy Brian Swain.
Yes.
Okay. When the Oilers trail a best-of-7 series 2-1 in the McDavid era, the Oilers have come back to win 4 of 5 times, including all 3 last year.
Wow.
They like to have their backs against the wall.
Yeah.
So sometimes they do it to themselves.
They don't handle success well, do they?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So they've won how many of those series?
4 out of 5. And the last, including all 3 this year and last year.
So they got that going for them.
Tommy, also, Oilers 11 times shorthanded, ties for the most by any team in the playoffs since 2008.
Wow. Well, listen, man, they did it to themselves. They tried to drag Florida into the mud and get their pound of flesh. And, I mean, it looked like the cross-check by Frederick on Bennett, or the 2 cross-checks, did maybe hurt Bennett. That's, if you're an Oiler fan, you look at that, you're going, okay, that's good. Right? You want Bennett to not be comfortable. and in pain. It's in theory, it's not a nice thing.
I don't think it's a nice thing.
But in hockey, it's a good thing, as we know. So there's that. Cass is going to join us in a couple minutes here, but we do want to get to your text, 780-218-9999. I'm going to quickly go over the scoring summary and the game stats from today. Not that they matter, because the only thing that matters is they got their asses kicked 6-1. Brad Marchand opened things up 56 seconds in. His eighth from Lundell and Luostarinen. Don't know what Stu Skinner was doing on that one, but Oilers lost sight of the puck, too. There's a couple of guys. I don't know what Harris was doing. I don't know what Klingberg, or was it, who else was out there? Was it Kulak?
Well, I was going to say, by the way, that goal made Brad Marchand, at 37 years old, the oldest player to score in the first 3 games of the Stanley Cup final. Not that Oilers fans want to hear that, but
it's a
good
fact.
for him. Yeah.
It's a fact. Carter Verhaeghe would make it 2-0 at 17:45. Great shot by Verhaeghe.
And what did I say? That Carter was going to come up big.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't a high pressure goal, but he scored.
It's a huge goal. It extended the lead on the power play from Rodriguez and Schmidt. Second period, Oilers cut the lead in half. Minute 40 in, Corey Perry, 9th of the postseason on the power play from Bouchard and Ekholm. You're thinking Oilers got life, right? Wrong. Sam Reinhart. Fortuitous, I suppose, if you're the Florida Panthers, because John Klingberg, who's already bobbling the puck up the wall in the corner, runs into the ref. I think it was Francis Chiron, loses it. Reinhart snipes past Stu Skinner at the 3-minute mark from Verhaeghe, 3-1 Florida. Then the breakaway goal by Sam Bennett, his 14th from Luostarinen, and you can give Vasily Podkolzin the secondary assist on that one. Horrific giveaway at the offensive zone blue line at 7:26. In the third period, a couple more to add insult to injury. Aaron Ekblad power play. Nice play, but the Oilers had given up at this point. Stu Skinner, bad puck over glass penalty. The focus was gone, obviously. Ekblad's 4th of the postseason from Reinhart and Tkachuk at 3:27. And then for good measure with Calvin Pickard in net, Evan Rodriguez, a bad goal. One-timer, but hits the middle bar. His second of the playoffs on the power play from Mikkola and Forsling at 16:10. 6-1 Florida. Shots on goal, 33-31 in favor of the Oilers, so they added another one late. Face-offs, 51.6 to 48.4% in favor of Edmonton. Power play, 27.3%. That's 3 for 11 for the Panthers. So Edmonton goes 8 for 11 on the PK. Power play 1 for 6 on the night. Hits 34-26 Edmonton. Block shots 17 for the Oilers, 15 for the Panthers. Officially 12 giveaways for the Oil, 7 for Florida. Takeaways 3 apiece. It is a 6-1 Oilers loss. It is a 2-1 Panthers lead in the Stanley Cup final. Text us 780-218-9999. Before we bring Cass in, I'm going to just give people a taste of what's out there right now.
No, don't.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Seriously, no, you don't do that to me.
Just do it, man.
Taxman says, I think with all the theatrics, it's a little lost that the power play was the biggest deflator, in my opinion. So many opportunities in the first period to tie and possibly go up heading into the second, and they couldn't deliver. It is time for Stetcher to come in for Klingberg. Perhaps he and Nurse were so good together in the Dallas series. Thoughts? I have time for that Stetcher for Klingberg thing. Klingberg was, I know at one point he was -3. Let's see how he finished up looking at the stats here. Klingberg finished -3. That is a team worst.
I wonder what's going on with him. I mean, do you think, because I talked to him and I said it seems like you're kind of your old self out there, especially like you're putting on these performances that we might have not expected of you even months ago. I wonder if it's his health, like just as this playoffs wear on, if he's feeling banged up.
Well, maybe, or he's just too slow, because I mean, the way he was bobbling that puck in the corner, I was like, he's in trouble. And then he falls over Francis Chiron. One pass and I think maybe he's cracking, and maybe they do take a look at Troy Stetcher. As we welcome in our game analyst, Matt Cassian, for the breakdown. The breakdown is always brought to you by South Fort Chev. Go see Daniel and his team in the Fort, and they'll give you $1,000 extra credit on your trade-in. Drive a little, save a lot at South Fort Chev. See deal for details, www.southfortchev.com. Cass, woof. My goodness, man. Just initial thoughts on that 6-1 Oilers thrashing at the hands of the Florida Panthers.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter if you lose in double overtime by a goal or if you lose by 5, it's still a loss in the playoffs. Still counts towards the 4 you can have in any given series. It was ugly. It was about as ugly as it gets, undisciplined as it gets, frustrating as it gets. It was overall just a bad game by the Edmonton Oilers. They lost composure. and the Florida Panthers played them like a fiddle, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
Kind of sucked them into everything, frustrated them, and Edmonton's emotions just were not in control. And if they want to win the series, they want to win a game here in Florida to bring it back to 2-2. Cannot happen again.
I have a question for you. Is there a moment for you in the game, and a game that was full of losses of composure, is there one that particularly exposed to you the lack of poise that the Oilers were showing?
I think the immediacy of the Sam Reinhart goal after they claw back into it, because it's a 2-1 game at that point. Like, you're out shooting them. Yes, you haven't been great, but you still have an opportunity. And then, Klingberg falls, kind of bumped into the official. The puck ends up going in your net, and it's like that just set everything off. And I think, and this is my thought, why that moment would be the moment where it just kind of falls apart for the Oilers, is if we go back to game 2, you have the blatantly, horribly missed interference call. You basically had a bunch of calls that the officials either made or didn't make in game 2, and then game 3 he bumped into the official again, and that happened actually to Klingberg in game 2 as well. If you remember, like, that's the second time he's kind of been bumped or ran into the official. And I don't think in the other game the puck went in the net, but it's not the first time it happened. And as a whole, I think the team basically was like, well, screw these guys. What's going on with the officials? Now he's in the way. Now they scored. Now they got this goal right when they get back in the game, and I think it just fell apart from there. So I think they kind of the emotion ramped up, and even seeing Klingberg's reaction at the official and to the official, to me, that is the moment when they broke. They broke in that moment. And Florida, I think, absolutely seized it after that and ran away with the game.
What is your take on Kane's contributions to the loss of momentum? Tom was saying Kane, early in the game with the 2 offensive zone penalties, really contributed to them losing their momentum at that point. Where are you on the Kane thing?
Yeah, I mean, those are it's a totally fair point of view to say that those absolutely killed you, because they did kill your momentum too. And even for speaking as a guy that was a 4th line guy, and if I was playing in the playoffs, it's not like I was playing a ton of minutes, and I definitely wasn't playing special teams. It is incredibly difficult to stay engaged as a 3rd line guy, 4th line guy that maybe doesn't kill as much to actually get invested in a game. And on the flip side, for your star players, the McDavid and Draisaitl, it's incredibly hard for them to get into the game and to get any kind of a rhythm when that happens. And they're unnecessary penalties, but it's not just Kane. I mean, those ones, I think it is a fair point to say that, yeah, those ones were part of it or factored into it. But you have like Arvidsson's goalie interference call. The Kane calls, it's like he did. I know Skinner's over the glass penalty was later, but it's just like undisciplined stuff just killed you tonight. And yeah, the Kane ones, they're bad. You can't, I get you're trying to be physical and on the forecheck, but you just can't, you can't take those penalties.
Cass,
go ahead, Nanso.
Just to give you a little bit of an example of the nasty chat, we got people questioning McDavid's upper body strength and comparing it to a teenager. That's why he played so bad today. That's where we're at with this post-game show, which is kind of ridiculous. But anyways, okay. Cass, I want to talk to you about the deep pairings. Like, Bush stayed with Ek, but I didn't like that he made a move in the other 2 pairings, because I look at game 2 and I don't think they lost that game because of their deep pairings, right? You saw Klingberg struggle mightily. So I got 2 questions for you. Why go with why switch 2 of your pairings when that wasn't the main concern losing game 2? Because that game could have went either way. And question number 2, I don't want this coaching staff to be so reactionary and be so like it look like they're in a panic. But a lot of people are asking, do you maybe put Stetcher in for game 4 ahead of Klingberg?
Ooh, two fair questions. Let's start with the first. Why mix it up? I think you're trying to mix it up because there was some caving to the pressure of the Florida Panthers. Like yes, it was a close game. You lose in overtime, but they're probably trying to say, okay, maybe we can get a little bit more here. Maybe we can play a higher tempo, more our game instead of the Florida game. Clearly that did not work, so it was not the right decision. But that's maybe what they're going for. Do you start Stetcher instead of Klingberg? That's a tough one here because Klingberg has struggled the last couple of games, maybe got exposed a little bit under that heavy pressure of the Florida Panthers, where he seems to be the guy, if there is a guy that has started to turn over pucks, that has struggled to make the plays he was making earlier in the playoffs, it's Klingberg. So I think you have to really evaluate that. Like that's a fair thing to say that, hey, you might want to think about putting in Stetcher for the next one.
780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat as well. The Oilers fall 6-1 in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. Taco says the Oilers were out-hit, out-fought, and outplayed. In my opinion, Florida is in their heads. Let's not forget that Florida could be up 3-0 if the Oilers didn't pull off that first OT victory. Bad Andy texting in. What do we got here? I don't like that one from Bad Andy. This one says, it's from Greg the Sound Guy. I'm superstitious, so been quiet post-game, but sometimes you got to change it up. Nothing that I'm going to say isn't going to get said. They look like men versus boys. I can't think of a single player net out that had a decent game. Hell, the coach had a bad game, and we don't say that much. The Panthers have the Oilers exactly where they want them, and this isn't good. I have bad feelings, guys. The only thing worse than the Oilers was Wes McCauley. That dude is a joke. Have a great show, guys. Jump in if you want to after that one. Anybody? Bueller?
Well, okay, here's what I'll say. Here's my other question. How do you get Dry going? I feel like that, we were talking in the pregame, can Panthers win a championship without their top line scoring? And it's the same question with Draisaitl. No shots on goal. That would be troubling to me. What's the fix?
Guys?
It starts from the defense out for me. It's the same thing, and we talked about it on the pregame show as far as turnovers, and we dug into it a little bit on the Edmonton Oilers being able to deal with that pressure and transition the puck, is when Leon isn't getting the puck on his stick and isn't getting the puck on his stick in motion, he's not going to generate much. Like, it's not there, and all of a sudden you're stuck in your end and you're expending energy getting out of your end, and by the time you get down to the offensive zone, you're either just chip and change or hold it and wait for support and change, or you're trying to play offense 40 seconds into your shift, and you're not going to produce at that point in time. So you want to get Draisaitl going. Absolutely, you want to get Draisaitl going. But I think how you do that is you make some better plays coming out of your own end. You find a way to move the puck and execute cleanly enough that you're able to transition with some speed. And maybe here, if a follow-up question for both of you would be, have the Oilers, and even in the games when it was close, let's go game 2, game 3. So tonight and the other night, have the Edmonton Oilers seemed even close to as fast as they were in the Dallas or the Vegas series?
No.
I agree. I feel like, especially towards, middle to end of game 2 is where I started to notice it slowed down a little bit.
Okay. We talked about the first 2 games in this series of how good the hockey is, how fast the tempo is. It seemed like Florida, Jolene used the word poise earlier in the show. It seemed like Florida is much more comfortable regardless of what's happening in-game, momentum, shift to shift, than Edmonton. Edmonton seems to get frazzled. Part of it, I think, was the team's own undoing with the lack of discipline. But, yes, I guess you could say they didn't look as fast, but in the first 2 games, I thought Edmonton was quick, and I thought we saw excellent hockey, and they were a goal away from being up 2-0 in this series. So tonight, yes. Part of it is it just looks like Florida was very comfortable handling any situation. Plus, they had the home ice and the momentum behind them.
I agree with you, but I feel like that did start to happen in game 2 a little bit. Because we were talking about that in the media bench.
Second period.
Yeah, a little bit. Just there we're starting, but it was still such good hockey. I mean, you couldn't say anything really bad about the Oilers, but it was starting to. You were starting to notice just a little bit of a crumble.
Dan, so go ahead.
I just want to give you a quote from Tkachuk, from Michael Russo from The Athletic, talking about the Oilers lost a street fight tonight, right? This is Tkachuk.
Yeah.
We talked about it in the third. If you have to take a punch, take a punch. If you have to take a cross-check, take a cross-check. Spear, slash in the face, whatever the case, you got to take it. We just played a really smart game. And I think they played the Oilers really well in that department, guys. They owned them tonight.
Well, there was that clip of Marchand telling the Oilers to, what did he say? Use your head? Didn't he say that? Like
him of all people?
Yeah. So, yeah, they did play a smart game in that sense. They drew them right into the lair, had them right where they needed them.
I see what you did there. Cass, the Oilers try to get a pound of flesh. Was it worth it tonight?
I don't know. And let me tell you why I don't know. Because, generally I'd be the first to be like, yeah, let's up 3 down 3 in the playoffs. We're out of this game. Make them suffer. Make them pay. But it can have the opposite effect. And I'll go back to 2013, our in Ottawa first round matchup against the Montreal Canadiens, where we were up a bunch of goals in the game, and they tried to do that, and we beat the wheels off them, and just they tried to take their pound of flesh, and we just laughed at them and won the game, and then rolled them the rest of the series. Like it can galvanize the other team in some way. Not that Florida's, they're a team that's won the Stanley Cup last year. They were at the Cup the year before. They're back here again. They've won in the playoffs. It's like they're a galvanized team. I understand that they're a team that plays as a team, feels like a team, is a team. But emotionally, it can just even drive you closer together to be like, yeah, they tried to take their pound of flesh and we stood up to them. They can go do something untoward with people that they're related to. Like that's the kind of, the mentality you're going with. And so it can backfire in some ways, especially if you lose that emotional control. And now you have to try to scramble to get it back. So can it benefit you too? Well, maybe it does. Maybe emotionally it's just that vent that you needed, is just get it out of your system. On the Oilers side, to say, get it out of your system, get the undisciplinedness out of your system. Now just get back to being you and what you do. And if you do that, well, maybe then it's okay. If Bennett's ribs are hurt, maybe it's okay. But it's a risky proposition to me, because you just take yourself out emotionally, I think, to a level, and you drive them into each other's arms, as it were. You make them more of a band of brothers over there, and buy into their own story and their own narrative that we already hear coming from Matthew Tkachuk out of the Panthers dressing room.
All right, well, the guy that I thought was guilty of getting the Oilers off on the wrong path, Evander Kane, spoke to the media following the team's 6-1 loss. Let's hear from Kane following tonight's disappointment for the Oilers.
And early penalties, a team that your team didn't quite look ready to go make.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, both teams took 4 penalties in the first period. They had a 2-0 lead, and obviously not the start you want on the road.
Did they get under your skin? Did they drive you guys off your game?
No, I don't think so. I think, the game obviously got out of hand at the end there. That stuff is going to happen. I mean, you look at some of the calls and whatnot. Obviously, some of them are frustrating. They seem to get away with it more than we do.
Why are they frustrating?
They seem to get away with it more than we do. I mean, it's tough to find the line. They're doing just as much stuff as we are. It was 4-4 at the end of it, and then it gets out of hand, and there seems to be a little bit more attention in our group.
Evander, does that style of play kind of suit that better? Like, do you need to get to your game a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, look, we didn't play very well. That's evident. We have nobody to blame but ourselves, but we can definitely be a lot better.
Evander, penalties and such aside, it seemed like you guys never really got to your game tonight. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of it is the amount of special teams. I don't know how many minutes there were 5-on-5 in the first period, even the second maybe, I'm not sure. Obviously we make it a 1-goal game. Paris makes a nice play, and then we give it right back. So that's tough, and didn't have the third period. Just it is what it is.
Things have been sailing for you guys pretty well since game 2 against LA. Is this kind of a low point, and how do you kind of recover?
Yeah, I mean, look, we could have lost 3-2 in triple overtime, and the series is 2-1. So, how you lose in the playoffs really doesn't matter as much than it might in the regular season. We have a shot to get a split here on Thursday, and that's the focus at this point.
Evander, what do you look at? I mean, penalties aside, what do you look at you need to clean up here to do what you want to do?
Well, I think we were a little disconnected, especially through the neutral zone, from our end to the neutral zone. I think if we can be a little cleaner there and have a little bit more possession, come in unison, which will create better forechecks and easier to hold on to pucks and turn pucks over in the O-zone. So I think if we can do a bit better job of that, that should help our game.
Is that partially their pressure? Did it get to you guys a little bit tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if it got to us tonight. We know they pressure. We know they pinch down on the wall. I think it's just about trying to execute the right game plan against that to counteract it.
You hear a lot in the regular season about watching this type of game away. Is that harder to do in the playoffs? Is that still something that you try to do?
Look, it's losing in the playoffs, whether it's in round one, game one, or the Stanley Cup final. It's never a good feeling. But we've been here before. We've been down in series before, and we've had tough losses. So it'll sting right now, and we'll flush it tomorrow and get ready for Thursday.
All right, there's Evander Kane. Most of what he said in the first 2 minutes of that 3-minute interview, half of it was garbage. It was BS. I listened to him like you're talking out of your ass right now. When he started to say we didn't play very well, that's the first time he said something with some legitimacy. Like, yes, he pointed out the fact that both teams had 4 penalties and there wasn't a lot of 5-on-5 play. He's the one who created those issues. It was him being a stupid, selfish player in the first 10 minutes of the game. Did I like the penalty on Marchand? Did I think it was a soft call? Yes. He should be aware of who he's getting his stick up high on. The guy's small. I'm sorry, Cass. I don't have a lot of time for the first minute or two of what Kane had to say. He didn't say anything legitimate till he said we didn't play very well. I'm sorry. He's the one who got them off track with stupid penalties. Yes, I know people don't like Wes McCauley, and yes, people are using the excuse that, when the Oilers have Wes McCauley, they don't win games. To me, that's a poor excuse. I understand those facts. I don't keep those stats. But Kane saying what he said at the start of that interview, I'm like, you were the guy. You were guilty of doing that and setting your team down the wrong path, and it just snowballed into a disaster. That's just how I feel about it.
Well, and he had to catch himself later. I don't know if you both caught that about the Panthers. The question, did the Panthers get to you on the forecheck? And
yeah.
He's like, no, like I was kind of like, well, yeah, they did. And even in that, did they get to you emotionally? And he's like, well, no, they didn't. We just lost our composure. Like, they didn't get to us, but we just lost our composure and took a bunch of bad penalties and did a bunch of dumb things at the end of the game and this and that. So it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, very nice mincing of, he very careful with his words there. Yeah, he could be a lawyer.
Yeah,
they didn't get to us. We just lost our composure. They didn't get to us. We just lost our composure.
I would not hire him as my lawyer. I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
But I interrupted you. What were you going to say next?
Basically that he's full of it in that instance, and they got to, and that you have to lie to yourself as a player and as a team, just as much as you lie to the media. So I wouldn't expect anything less, really. Like that's what they're going to tell themselves to. No, we didn't lose our composure. We're perfectly composed. Although they quite clearly did.
Are you surprised though, for the Oilers being such a veteran team, the loss of composure from early on in this game?
Yes and no. Yes, in that, for such a veteran team, you hope they don't in the Stanley Cup Finals. They've been through a lot to get here. Knowing that they're still human, knowing that they're still athletes that are competitive, that have emotions. So they're not complete robots. So am I a bit surprised? Yeah, but I'm not floored. Emotionally, they just lost it. They didn't have it.
All right, I'm going to rattle off a couple of texts, and we'll go back inside the Oilers locker room. We're going to hear from Stu Skinner, who had a bad night as well. Tay-Tay texting in says, guys, I don't know how you beat a team like Florida. This team is so well built. How do you go up against a team that all play the same way and have a goaltender that will make the big saves when it counts? I know the Oilers aren't playing to their standard, But, man, it's night and day between the Panthers and the Oilers. That's from Tay. Collingwood Rob says, well, we have adversity tonight. We crossed the line too much and ended up playing two teams. Florida and the refs flushed this game. Stop trying to be a team you're not. Next game, quick, efficient passes. Get pucks to the net. Outwork them in every aspect. Hard work beats talent all the time. Time to outwork Florida and not be sitting in the box. And then we'll go to Stanley in YYC. Says, I think I made the right call to play goal tonight, then watch the game. Stanley in YYC, who had a men's league game. All right, let's go inside the Oilers locker room. Here's Stuart Skinner.
What did go wrong?
How did things go wrong?
Well, I mean, right away I thought we ended up playing what Florida kind of wanted, just a little bit of a track meet, a little bit of grinding, lots of penalties. I mean, it was just penalty chaos tonight. Kind of started in the first period, letting a couple goals, one on the PK again, and then obviously Marchand's. And I think they were gritty tonight.
I know you'll take a closer look in the coming days, but what's your initial feeling on your night, on the goals that beat you and how you felt?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, some were chaotic, some were really nice shots. I got a little post lucky for them, a couple shots, but I mean, I've had my post luck too, so it goes both ways, and they made some nice shots. But I mean, as a goalie, you got to come up with a save. It doesn't matter. It's a game of inches. If I'm out, a quarter of an inch out farther on what's his name for Hagee's goal, then it could be a save. Same with Reinhart. So I don't like letting open shots in. So I take accountability on those.
So it's uncharacteristic for this team to kind of lose the composure like they did. Like, what did you make of that? And
Yeah, I'm not too sure what I really make up of it. I think you just see that there's a lot of emotions that are going into this. We're trying to win a cup. They're trying to win a cup. So there's fight. Some guys are flaking, going down, trying to cause penalties. The other teams don't like that. So then it's just going to be a battle, right? Obviously, we're not going to go down without swinging. They didn't do it when we beat them 8-1. I mean, they were cross-checking everybody. They were fighting us. They were doing everything to get under our skin. And so, it's going to go both ways.
The first couple of games were close. This one was pretty lopsided. Is that tougher to regroup from?
It might feel like it, but I don't think it is, just because it's a series. They're up 2-1. That's all it is. It's one game. They could have beat us 12-0. It's the same result. It's still just 2-1. It's not like if they win by any more that they go up extra. So it might feel a little bit harder just because we weren't in the game tonight. But it doesn't change how we're going to respond.
As much as you want to forget about last game, this one will be tougher. Do you want to remember that they can hurt you if you do mistakes?
No matter who you're playing against, if you don't show up, teams are going to hurt you. You can play anybody in the NHL. It's a good league. And we know that. We've experienced it tonight. We've experienced it many times before tonight. So we know what we're going to be up against. It doesn't change how we're going to respond again. We got 2 days to, come back, and I think there's some things that we're going to have to change.
How was it in the room after tonight?
Yeah, it was a little quiet, obviously, at first, because we obviously got it handed to us. But I think after that, Leo gave us some really good words of wisdom, gave us some motivation, and we know what we have to do. And we're still talking a lot, actually. Just before I came out here, there's a lot of conversations going on just on, how we got to, just show up better.
Stu, how difficult was it for you to get into the game from a goaltender's perspective with all the penalties?
Yeah, Bob had to do it too. It's definitely tough just because there's not a lot of flow because there's no 5-on-5. So you're watching for 2 minutes, then you're playing for 2 minutes, then you're watching for 2 minutes, playing for 2 minutes, and that was kind of the whole first period. So yeah, it's definitely difficult, but again, that's hockey. If I wasn't able to handle it, I shouldn't be playing.
You guys have talked about how last year's experience made you mentally tougher, mentally more prepared for this series. Do you think Game 4 is the greatest test of that?
Every test from here on out is going to be the greatest test for that, win or lose. So I think no matter what, we're always going to be showing our resiliency, even in wins. So I think it's another test for us, another great test for us to come back and show everybody what we can do.
Stu, a year ago in this building, Connor fairly famously said, "Bring it, whatever you got, bring it." Are we at that moment now?
I mean, I think we were at that moment from game one, just because we know that if we don't do that, the same thing's going to happen last year. We could have gone down 3-0 pretty quickly. Obviously, we learned our lesson because we've gotten one win. This is another moment where we definitely got to look in the mirror and change a couple things and make sure that we, come back a lot harder game 4 here.
All right, there's Stu Skinner. One thing that stood out to me, Jolene and Matt, is they're having conversations, according to him, talking about next game. Really quickly, Cass, before we go to Jolene. Encouraging, like, what are they talking about? Because, I mean, you want to flush this, you want to get it out of the way, you want to compose yourself and be ready for Thursday, but does that indicate anything to you outside of, they talked about it?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna talk about it. You're not gonna dwell on it. You're not gonna spend too much time thinking about it. You're gonna give yourself 20 minutes, 15 minutes to talk about it, then you're gonna move on. At least that's what you're gonna try to do. Like, you're not gonna bury yourself into that emotion. It's basically gonna be like, hey guys, yeah, we can't lose our composure, and everyone's gonna be like, yeah, can't lose our composure, yeah, got it out of our system, and everyone else is gonna be like, yeah, we got it out of our system, yeah, we got it out of our system. And then the media is going to come in the room, and that's it. Like, that's kind of what's going to happen. I wish it was going to be more than that, or that it was like more fancy than that, but that's not. That's what the conversations are going to be. You're just kind of getting that emotion, that frustration out, and then just kind of saying, okay, time to move on. Let's be done.
All right, go ahead, Jolene.
Well, I want to talk about Skinner, but before I do, just a question off the back of that. When you go back to your hotel at the end of a game like this, then is there other conversation, or when you're alone with your thoughts, like what happens, I guess, after the media circus is done and you get back and you have some real quiet time? What is that time like?
Well, you probably like pull up Fortnite and play a little Fortnite and you go to bed. No.
All right, so you just try to blanket and move on.
Yeah, I think for most guys, you just try to blank it out and move on. Yeah, you take a couple deep breaths and you move on.
Let's talk about Skinner. Well,
let's do it. Let's do it. No, let's go. We all want to go there. Everyone in the nasty chat wants to go there.
Okay,
so let's go.
We're going there. We're going there. Does he start the next game?
Most likely, yes.
And let's hear your reasonings for it. Is it because he got us this far? He just had an off game? Like what would be the reasoning for starting him over Cal?
So what did we talk about right off the top about being where this team fell apart tonight? Was it the emotion and play of Stuart Skinner? Or was it the discipline and play of the entirety of the team? And that to me is like, okay, he had, I think it was the same save percentage as Bobrovsky coming into tonight from a series standpoint. So he had the same save percentage. He's also a guy that, how many shutouts has he had this playoffs? Three? Oh, right. 3 shutouts this playoffs. So why are we jumping on the, okay, let's just pull him bandwagon? I know he gets lit up tonight. And was he great tonight? No, he wasn't great tonight.
No.
He wasn't great tonight. But the team wasn't great either. So, if you're trying to completely shock the team, okay, you could put Pickard in. Maybe, I get it. But like to me, the people that are clamoring for Pickard on the messages, the nasty chats and everything, those are the same people that are clamoring for Pickard if the Edmonton Oilers win 9-1 and they're like, well, Stuart Skinner should have not let in that one goal.
Right.
Like that's the people that are clamoring for it. Like have we seen from either of you, in your opinions, have you seen enough poor play from Stuart Skinner, not just tonight, but throughout the course of the series, that tells you they really need to think about moving away from him for game 4?
Well, I will ask this question because I've seen it in comments before. Does it look like the team plays more comfortably in front of Pickard?
I don't buy that.
I don't buy it for a second.
Okay.
No, I don't buy it for a second. They've had, like, if we're looking at, you want to talk statistics and analytics, I mean, a pretty easy statistic to look at is that Stuart Skinner plays more games than Calvin Pickard. And if your goalie plays more games than the other goalie, the chances of you having a game where your team plays poorly increases. Weird how that happens with probabilities and statistics. So I don't think so. Again, it's the same people that buy into that, where it's like, I posted in the nasty chat, but this is kind of the mindset is like, well, Pickard would have been in tonight. The Oilers would have won 9-0. They would have played great. And on one of the glove saves that he made, his glove would have went so fast it went back in time and made the save in game 2, and they would have won that one as well. And they'd be up 3-0 after game 3. That's the mentality and some of the grandiose thoughts that we get from people.
Yes.
But part of the reason that people fear Skinner being out there is because you don't know which version of him you're going to get. Because he is very much, Jekyll and Hyde.
He has been at times. He has been, and I would argue, and I get called all kinds of mean names about this, but I would argue that it hasn't been nearly as dramatic as a lot of people would say.
Yes.
Because there have been games in the playoffs, even, where it's like it doesn't matter if you had Bobrovsky or Skinner or Hellebuck or Jonathan Quick or Carey Price in his prime. It doesn't matter who you had. A lot of those goals were going in. Mm-hmm. Stuart Skinner gets criticized for his lateral movement, but no goalie has good lateral movement on 4 backdoor tap-ins a game. You're giving up breakaway goals, where I think there's a lot of that gets significantly overblown. And I've probably taken all kinds of heat already from the nasty chat on that, but it just...
Oh, I've got a good one for you, Cass, that I've taken. I'm just like, give your head a shake, you dum-dum. Yeah.
So blown out of proportion. So I don't buy into that at all. I think the team, they have off nights, yes. And I would say there have been times when Stuart Skinner hasn't been good enough. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's fair. And there's been times to be fair and reasonable with critique of him. But it's pretty hard when we look at him stepping back into the lineup and what he's done for the entirety of the playoffs to say that they lost one game 6-1 after being in some really tight games and being 1-1 in the Stanley Cup final, to say that now we need to make this big change and now the team isn't going to play in front of them well. I don't know. I don't buy it. Sorry for rambling.
No, I like that. I'm going to follow up with this because I like I said earlier at the top of the show, I've had people texting me like, it's over. Oh, this team can't do it. I've had buddies' wives texting me. I don't talk to them. At least I see them at parties and stuff like that, or see my buddies at their birthdays. And they're like, Tommy, so this from work says they're done. Florida has a read on them. It's over. I've got buddies that love the Oilers that are texting me, guys in their 60s texting me, be like, it's done. This team can't do it. I've got my younger brother and his friends are complaining. And it's one game. You get spanked. The Oilers spanked Florida in the final last year. Florida came back and won the Cup in Game 7. It happens. You can move on. You can improve your game. You do need to change up strategy. But, if we're pinpointing individual players, I had somebody in the text line come at me and saying I'm pouting and saying I'm acting like the series is over because I called out Evander Kane for talking out of his you-know-what in his post-game press conference. That's how touchy it is right now. The series is not over. It is not over by any stretch of the means, and it always blows my mind. And we had this post-game the other night, Cass, actually. I know you were away and Gager was in, but people were saying after an overtime, it's done, it's over. And I pointed back to Game 3 of the series against the Golden Knights when Edmonton was up 2-0. They blow that game, score on their own net with 0.4 seconds left. People, it was a great run, it's over. I hate that mentality. I don't believe that. So I'm blown away by people being like, oh, you're pouting, you're this, you're acting like so. No, I'm calling out a selfish play by a selfish player who came in talking about how this team and he can't take these penalties, and he goes and takes 2 in the first 10 minutes. Can you not separate and understand that? And if you're gullible enough to believe him because he's composed in his press conference, come on, you guys. Come on.
Look at what Stuart Skinner said. He answered that question a lot more honestly, about composure and losing their composure. It's if you ever seen the movie with Will Ferrell about the screaming and we have to keep our composure while he's losing it and throwing everything in the room. It's we all saw you lose your composure. And yeah, no one's saying the series is over. At least we're not. There's people that are freaking out and but they're the same people that are saying like the series is over, and usually there's a ... unless we put Pickard in. Like that's generally like the extension of what is being said.
Yeah, good point.
But those are the people that are freaking out about that. It's not time to freak out. Florida played a really good game their first game at home.
Yes.
They played a really good game. Edmonton did not. They lost their composure, took bad penalties from players, key players like Evander Kane, that just spiraled them out of control. But the game is over.
So here's my question. What would be the top 3 fixes to get this back on track for the Oilers? And if it's as simple as not taking silly penalties that kill the momentum, that's actually a pretty easy fix. But what would be the kind of like the top line fixes that would clean this up?
Well, I think you hit the easiest one and the most simple one, and that is just don't take really dumb penalties far away from your net early in a hockey game. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You just Stanley Cup final, quarterfinal, semifinal, regular season, that's a bad idea to plan to win hockey games by doing that. Like, just don't do that. The more difficult one is still going to be, and as we talked about today, is having Edmonton's defensemen deal with the forecheck. Now, whether that is put in Stetcher instead of Klingberg to try to get maybe a little bit more mobility in there, you're going to have to figure out what it is. If it's going to be maybe changing a little bit of your center positioning from a structure standpoint of what you're trying to do in zone on breakouts in transition, then it's going to have to be that. And I don't know if that would be the final answer. You know, the coaches will have to cut video and clip and go in and look to see if that would help, but they have to find a way to get the puck into the forward's hands sooner. The defensemen need to find a way to get the puck into the forward's hands sooner, and if they do, I think that just opens up so much more ice for them. And so those would be my 2 big things.
All right, Cass. Do you have one more for Cass, or do you want me to just...
No, do what you were going to do.
I'm going to say, Cass, take a look ahead to Thursday night, Game 4. If Edmonton wants to get back in the series, which I'm 100% in the belief that they can, what do they need to do? I feel like I know a couple of the answers, but lay it out for us, please.
Well, we talked about some of that. I think if I'm going to add on underneath, like the not taking dumb penalties, like a bunch of idiots, and finding a way to transition the puck to the forwards quicker. If I was going to add in another thing, I'm gonna say weather the onslaught in the first 10 minutes, because the Florida Panthers are a team that obviously has had a lot of success. And I know you tried to take your pound of flesh tonight, the Edmonton Oilers of the Florida Panthers, but the Panthers are going to smell, the stench of blood and death here. Like, they are going to go in for the kill. They're going to see you as a weak little gazelle, right, separated from the pack, and they're going to be trying to take you down. And for the Oilers, it's going to be withstanding that and weathering that at the start of that hockey game, and then punching back, not in that emotional losing your composure sort of way, but in that, hey, we're going to play fast, play offensive, and get pucks to the net sort of way. So, and if anything, I think that holds even more true just based on the way these games have started this series. Like, every game has been kind of, they haven't worked their way in, either team. Like, it's been, stuff has happened right away. So dealing with the emotions early on in that hockey game are going to be just a massive part of having success.
A goal in the first minute of this game, 56 seconds to be exact. Yeah, you're right. Lots has happened early on in these games. There's been a lead at least, I think, 2 minutes or before in all 3 games of the Stanley Cup final. Cass, great stuff as always, my friend. We will talk to you on Thursday.
Okay, we'll see you both.
That is our game analyst, Matt Cassian, with the breakdown brought to you by South Fort Chev. You can text us 780-218-9999. People are getting fired up. RBM texting in says, wow, I think Stu was the only one who was composed tonight. I love his unshakable mental strength. He can easily pull a Jack Campbell and collapse in this market, but he's continued to just be truthful, tell it how it is. Seems to always be the same, win or lose. It's weird. Obviously, I feel demoralized as an Oiler fan after that one, but after hearing him, I'm like, you know what? He's completely right that it's only one game, 12-0, and it's still only one game. So yeah, you lose 3-2, you get blown out. You still only get one win in that win-loss column. Redbeard texting in says, I feel like Skinner should start next game. He is the better goalie, but I think Knobloch waited too long to pull him tonight. Thank you, Redbeard. Good to hear from you. Gordfather texting in with a couple says, okay, flush that one. Can't think of one Oiler who's good tonight. Should easily be someone that can come out for Jeff Skinner after a night like that. Klingberg can't look good in the final. Get Stetcher in for him. PK can't cover up the dumb penalties this year. Getting crushed on special teams. Let's hope Game 4 Skinner can repeat the trend. He's very good Game 4 and after. Obviously, we know that. 6-0 in Game 4.
He's Mr. Game 4.
Mr. Game 4, yeah. Best historically, I think.
That's a fact I didn't know.
Yeah, well, we got this. We're pointing out facts tonight. Gordfather also adds, I didn't love the pull from Knobloch tonight. I thought Pickard would have started the third. Next goal goes in and pulls Stu. Feels like the message goes from we need you next game, get some rest to partly like you're to blame. So now we will take you out. I know what you mean by that, Gordfather.
It did come off of an awkward set of circumstances.
Yes. Yeah, that's a fair way to describe that. All right, we're going to get to Reid's Reid as Reid Wilkins is standing by. Reid's Reid brought to you as always by the Edmonton Garrison Memorial Golf and Curling Club. Fall-in golfers, Edmonton Garrison Memorial Golf Club is open to the public and memberships are still available. Join the ranks today and experience top-tier golf with a proud military tradition. For more info, visit egmgolf.com to enlist. All right, Riedrich, welcome back to the postgame show. Edmonton gets absolutely smoked 6-1. Undisciplined. They tried to get their pound of flesh. Just initial thoughts from you, Reid, after a tough night in Oil Country.
I mean, I was thinking late in the first period that if the Oilers could get out of the period 1-0, that might be a win with how it was going. And then Arvidsson takes the goaltender interference call. And yes, everybody, I've seen the complaining. Bobrovsky embellished, but they're not going to call a goalie for diving in that situation. And then, Florida gets a late power play goal, and it's 2-0. Quite frankly, Tom, I didn't think either team was overly composed in the first period, but I thought the Oilers were worse. I mean, it was just a penalty fest, stupid penalties both ways. Like you mentioned, Kane with a couple. I mean, maybe you can say, okay, take one. You can live with one because he's trying to be aggressive, but you can't take both. Horrific too many men on the ice call. I mean, they had 7 skaters, not 5. Yeah. And Florida was, let's face it, Florida was doing their best to give it back. I mean, Lundell with a trip, Ekblad with a foolish tripping penalty. I know he was trying to say, I didn't see him there. Well,
sure.
That's the point. If you don't see a guy trip him, it's still a trip. I mean, Bennett took a high sticking penalty. So I didn't think either team had a good first period, but the Oilers were worse. And Florida got 2 goals. And then I thought maybe Edmonton would come out a little more composed and focused for the second period, and they weren't. And a story definitely going into this game was that the Oilers needed to sort of stand up to the Panthers. I do think it's legitimate. I do think
we talked about it on the postgame show the other night.
I do think they have to be physical. I do think they have to try to deal with some of the garbage that the Panthers bring. The unfortunate thing was that's all the Oilers seemed worrying about, because they weren't worried about breaking the puck out. They weren't worried about passing. They weren't worried about shooting. They were just worried about the garbage and trying to win the scrums. And as a result, they couldn't win the game. I mean, Perry's goal was a beauty. It's too bad we're not going to talk about that much. That was a great move in front.
True.
And then a minute 20 later, they give it back. And Tommy was only 3-1. And I should know better than to write the Oilers off when they're down 2. But when it was 3-1, I thought it's over. Like, you give it right back. Yes, the ref was kind of in the way. Yes, Barkov took his hand off the stick and was probably guilty of holding by the letter of the law. Fine. But Klingberg put himself into that situation because of Florida's pressure. And the Oilers didn't handle it. I mean, the Florida forecheck is excellent. The Oilers didn't move the puck quickly up the ice. I agree with what I think Cass said earlier, that the Oilers have looked slow at times in this series, and certainly tonight. They're not able to move the puck. They're not able to figure out, how Florida is sealing them off when they're trying to move the puck up the ice. And it was just a disaster. I mean, they couldn't do anything. I don't think Draisaitl finished with a shot.
No shot.
I don't know if he had a shot attempt. Draisaitl did not have a shot attempt.
Him and McDavid were I don't want to use the term ghosts, but There was no impact from either one of those guys.
Like Bouchard, actually, I liked how he was firing away in the first period, and he had 9 shots on goal and 4 others blocked. So the Edmonton Oilers had 54 shot attempts. Evan Bouchard had 13 of them. So that's about a quarter, isn't it? So,
yes,
at least he had a shooting mentality. But it was just a bad game. And look, I know you got to muck it up and you got to do stuff. I know Wallman's trying to do what he can. I mean, spraying the water at the bench, that's kind of embarrassing.
I was going to ask about that, yeah.
I think that, some of the stuff later in the game, that's going to happen in a blowout either way. But, I mean, Frederick attacked Bennett. You and I
talked about that post game. I didn't mind it, to be honest with you.
At that point, I guess I don't mind it either. But I mean, Bennett's not going to engage. I mean, he tried to a little bit. It's interesting watching Kane and Tkachuk, and I posted this on Twitter earlier in the game. I understand why Kane is going after Tkachuk. Is because he basically neutered him in 2022. I mean, Tkachuk had that big game in game 1 when it was 8 or 9-6. Was quiet the rest of the series. Kane dominated. The Oilers took over, beat the Flames in 5. Matthew Tkachuk was the best player, or right up there. I know, Gaudreau was there and a couple other guys. But Tkachuk was the beast on that team. He was one of their best, most skilled players, and was, from what I remember, probably the beefiest player. I know Tanev played in that series, but he was playing on one leg, I think, at the time.
One arm, I think.
Right. So Kane
his shoulder was done.
Kane took Tkachuk out of the series, and that killed the Calgary Flames. You can't do that to Tkachuk in this series because he's one of the pack, and he's not the leader of the pack. As good a player as he is, he's not the leader of the pack. And so target Matthew Tkachuk all you want. That's not going to slow down the Florida Panthers. There's too many guys who can play that way. I think the Oilers have to play tough. I think they have to play physical. I think in the Stanley Cup final you can't back down, and sometimes you might take a penalty or get in a scrum or get in a fight. But they got carried away tonight. That's all they worried about. Now, I know once it's 5 or 6-1 with 10 minutes left, that's probably going to happen in any game with any teams. But the Oilers were like that. Most of the night. I think if they get back to playing hockey and play tough, hard hockey without going out of their way to antagonize or injure the Florida Panthers, then I think that they can give the Panthers a game. But they didn't do that tonight. And you saw Florida's reaction. They were laughing. They were pointing at the scoreboard. They were making gestures to the Oilers bench. The Panthers loved it. And I remember this saying once. Somebody said to me about getting upset and arguing with people. They said, never fight with a pig. You'll both get muddy and the pig will love it. Well, I modified that tonight. Never fight with a rat. You'll both get covered in sewage, but the rat will love it. The rats, the cat rats, as I call them, love this tonight. They loved taking the Oilers into the sewage and then crawling out with sewage all over them, but leaving the Oilers behind.
That was beautiful, Reid. It is Reid's Read, brought to you by Edmonton Garrison Memorial Golf and Curling Club. Nance, are you standing by? You got anything for Reid, Rick?
Hello, Reid.
Hey, Hernan.
How are you? Just going to have a normal conversation with you.
Oh, okay.
No. Reid, I brought it up with Cass. I want to get your take on it. We saw 2 of the pairings switched up today. Klingberg struggled mightily. It didn't work. And I'm not blaming the 6-1 game on the pairings, but why do you think he went to that switch? And then the same question I asked Cass, I want to get your thoughts. Is it a panic move, or would you put Stetcher in for Klingberg next game?
I guess I'll answer the second question first. I wouldn't, because I think Klingberg's higher end is higher than Stetcher's higher end still in terms of the puck moving, and you got to go get the puck going north. I don't think it was a panic move. I just think that they tried something different. They saw something different that they wanted to try. No, Kulak was back on the left tonight, wasn't he? For most of the game?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, Reid. I didn't mean a panic move in that. I was saying, is it kind of like, not a panic move, but is it a reactionary to go with Stetcher over Klingberg for game 4? I think that's what I was trying to get to.
I would. I think you got to dress the best lineup possible, and I think if you take a deep breath, Klingberg has been playing better than Stetcher. I think he moves the puck better, and he's just better all right. I know Stetcher works his butt off, but this would be a heavy team for him to play against. So no, I probably wouldn't do that if it were up to me.
Reid, I'm going to throw this one at you. To those that are saying that the series is over, again, like I pointed out earlier in the show, I pointed out after we had Cass on, I just had another text come in and says, I'm worried if they lose this next game, they're done. To those that are jumping off the bandwagon, breaking ankles, doing so, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd say I can't control how other people feel, Tom. I mean, that's their choice. I mean, all I can tell you is that I've watched enough sports in my life and I've seen enough series, mostly in hockey, that until one team wins 4 games, it's not over. It's advantage Florida for sure. They outplayed the Oilers by a wide margin tonight. But I also sometimes ask Oilers fans to think about the playoffs as a whole besides the Oilers games. It's like when the Oilers lost to Dallas and people were saying, well, Oilers go to Oiler, Oilers going to Oiler. They're the team that blows a lead. And I was like, okay, hold on. Let's look at some other games. Montreal had to come back against Washington. The Washington won in overtime. Dallas had to come back against Colorado. Winnipeg Jets, 2 goals in less than 2 minutes. This is the playoffs. So I want you to consider some other things that have already happened this postseason. Well, let's start with an Oilers perspective. Down 2-0 to the Los Angeles Kings. It's over. The Kings built the team to beat the Oilers. That's all they care about. Now they're going to do it. Okay, they didn't do it. The Winnipeg St. Louis series is another perfect example. I'm trying to think of how all the series have played out now, but let's look at Florida and Toronto. It's up 2-0. Toronto's up 2-0. Well, Leafs have done it. They've broken the Panthers. They built the team to beat Florida. They did it. Florida wins the next 3 games. Well, Leafs are done. The Leafs suck again. Leafs are a bunch of babies again. They're going to go to Florida. They're going to get loose. Leafs go into Florida and win that game by a shutout, I believe. Yeah. And then it's like, now the Leafs got them in Game 7. There's no way the Leafs are going to stink 2 in a row on home ice. Well, they did. So if you're telling me that you know what's going to happen, that would be my message to you. You do not know what's going to happen. If the teams keep playing the way they did tonight, then yes, it's over. It's over in 5 games, and the Oilers will be outscored 18-3 in the last 3 games. Yes, that's now a possibility. It's also possible for a team to get blown out 6-1 or 8-1 and then win the series. So, but people are emotional after a game like this, Tom, and we have to allow them their emotion. And I know if Florida wins the series, I'll get the messages saying, see, Reid, Florida was going to win, and I knew it, and you wouldn't admit it. But that's not what this is all about. This is all about let's keep going. We're in the Stanley Cup final. Why not? I get it. Feel bad tonight. Absolutely feel bad tonight. But crying out loud, if you actually think the series is over, then I forbid you from watching Game 4. Okay? If you actually think the series is over, I forbid you from watching Game 4, or even following it, or checking the score, or knowing what happens. That's like, for crying out loud, and enjoy this. Yes, the Oilers might lose, everybody. That's pro sports. There's a winner and a loser in every series. Let's see how they respond. That's life. That's sports. Let's get at it. Let's see if they can do it. That's the fun. Let's see if they can do it.
Good point about allowing people to share their frustrations, vent, and get it out. All right. Keep those texts coming in. 780-218-9999. Tom Gazzola, Jolene, Latimer at Boston Pizza Westgate. Big thank you to Tony and Curtis and the entire staff here. Shar, she was great. To everyone who turned out, nasties were fantastic. Hernan Salas back at EST Global HQ, and Reid Wilkins with us right now for Reid's Reid. I'm going to read a couple texts and I want to pass it off to Jolene. Jill says, the Oilers have not played a good game yet and they're down 2-1. Restart next game. Figure out Bennett and Marchand and that problem and get going. Also, Skinner's the best goalie of all time in games fours. Why would you start Pickard? The next text says Pickard and Klingberg out. Miranda in YYC says, hey guys, it wouldn't have mattered if Skinner only let in 2 goals tonight. They lose because the big guns couldn't score and some players absolutely snapped tonight. They tried to out Florida and it went terribly. Miranda in YYC. RBM says, Reid, what you should have said was, if you know what's going to happen, then hook me up with a lottery number. All right, Jolene,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to ask Reid one question. We haven't really talked about this in the post game. McDavid left the game really, really briefly. Looked like he went down the tunnel. I don't know what. He came right back out, but did you detect any difference in his play after that?
I didn't, because he was gone, and he spoke post-game, but I haven't seen the interview, so I don't know if he addressed it. Because he was gone so briefly, I would guess it was an equipment check, or maybe just stretching something or make sure it was okay, because he did fall over awkwardly. I didn't notice anything different in his play. I mean, he pretty much got neutralized tonight. Florida was all over him. Like we talked about, the Oilers weren't quick. They weren't skating. They weren't moving the puck. So if they aren't doing those things, McDavid's not going to look very good.
And then I just had one thing to say to you, to everybody at home. I chose the over on this game.
Yes, you did.
And I was the only person in the pregame who did, so I'm feeling very good about myself.
Yes, tap.
Thank you.
Brush those shoulders off. But what did you say after you acknowledged it hit the over?
I can't even remember.
You
I said so many things.
That's not how I thought it was going to happen.
Oh, yeah, I did say that.
Yeah,
I did not think it would be so lopsided.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, Rick, give us the look ahead to game number 4 on Thursday night, please, and thank you.
Well, a couple of days in between, hopefully the Oilers just calm down, and I think Knobloch's demeanor is going to play a big role in this. Like, he often talks about confidence and playing on instinct, and to try to get them back to that. And I know the issue is Florida can get you off your game and make you look like you have faulty instincts, but I think he's going to have a big role in this, just to remind the team that they're good, of where they are, of how they got here, and of how they can use their physicality to their advantage without it being a detriment. Because, the Oilers did use their physicality to an advantage especially against Dallas and Vegas. Maybe more against Vegas than against Dallas, because I think Vegas' style is closer to Florida's style than Dallas's was. So, hopefully they can take a breath and try to play a calmer, more composed game. And I should mention, guys, some of the mistakes. Which goal was it now? The one where Podkolzin tried to pass it across the blue line and it got intercepted for a breakaway. That is a play that the Oilers have not been making. That puck's been going deep, right? Unless the defense, the D-to-D pass is, I know it was a forward in that time, but unless the D-to-D pass is wide open. So get back to their game, simplify and play with a little more emotional intelligence.
Very good, Reid. Always fantastic. That is Reid's Reid, brought to you by Edmonton Garrison Memorial Golf and Curling Club. I will see you tomorrow, my friend.
Okay, see you, Tom. See you, Jolene. See you, Hernan.
See you, Reid.
There you go. That is Reid Wilkins, host of the Reid Wilkins Show, right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, Monday to Friday, 3 to 6, with Jay Milne. Nanso, we're going to get into the turning point of the game as well as the player of the game. We begin with the turning point of the game. Do you want to do the turning point of the game, or do you want me to do it?
I want you to do it.
Okay, I will do it.
Okay.
The turning point of the game, brought to you as always by Advantage Sport Medicine and Physiotherapy. Connor McDavid's got a team of specialists. You have a bag of frozen peas. Get the same locker room approach that's trusted by the best in the game at Advantage Sport Medicine. Book your assessment today at www.advantagesportmed.ca or call 780-460-9977. All right. There were so many moments where you could be like, well, that changed the momentum, that changed the momentum. I have talked about how I didn't like the penalties that Kane took. Yes, I agree with everybody that said that the calls were weak, 100%. don't put your stick around Brad Marchand's face. He's small, and he's going to embellish, and he did it to a T.
Great points.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought those penalties so far away from the two of them set the Oilers off on the wrong path. But I will say the turning point of the game that had the most bearing on it would be the Sam Reinhart goal. Just a minute and 20 after Corey Perry had cut the lead to 2-1 early in the second period. What happens is we talk about John Klingberg, goes behind the net. He's already bobbling the puck. There is pressure on him, sure, but he's bobbling the puck. You can see he's looking down, and then he runs into Francis Chiron. Quick pass from Verhaeghe to Reinhart, and then it's in the back of the net past Stuart Skinner. To me, that's when the wheels were going to fall off, and it only got worse from there. Bennett would score on that breakaway later, and then the Oilers would unravel in the third period and just try to beat the crap out of the Florida Panthers, but it was moot point at that point. So to me, the turning point of the game is the Sam Reinhart goal at the 3-minute mark of the second period, just a minute 20 after Corey Perry had scored a really nice goal on the power play to get the Oilers close. All of that comes undone just a minute 20 later. So there you go. There's your Advantage Sport Medicine and Physiotherapy turning point of the game. Do you want to add to that?
Nope.
Oh, really?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I was checking something else while you were talking.
Okay,
I was like, I had to see.
All right. Let's go to Hernan Salas for the player of the game, brought to you by Damon Bunting Real Estate. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in the greater Edmonton area for over 17 years. He's community-driven and understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. So check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate Nancito.
Yeah, this one's interesting. A lot of options, of course, for the good old Florida Panthers. I think you got to go there. And someone Jolene picked as kind of an X factor for tonight's game, Carter Verhaeghe. He was fantastic, a brilliant goal. He was, that's a goal scorer's goal, like Greg Simpson said on the broadcast. Yeah. Goal and assist, a +1, 50-56. He had 4 shots on net. I thought he was really good. I think he's been really good this whole series. I just think he's been a little snake bitten at times, but today he was able to find that goal, and it was a big one. So for me, Carter Verhaeghe is the Damon Bunting player of the game for the agency.
All right, Jolene, Latimer, we're going to have a few minutes left here. We'll get to some text, but some other thoughts that you might have after listening to Reid, and then the player of the game as well as the turning point of the game.
Yeah, I think just kind of circling back on what we said, anybody who thinks the Oilers are cooked after this one game is out to lunch. It was one game. You go on a road trip expecting to split, so that's all they did. That's all they're doing. They can still hit reset.
This is positive reinforcement?
Yeah.
Okay.
And wait, today's Monday, right?
Yes,
so they don't play again until Thursday.
That is right.
So they have some extra time to recover, which I think is going to be huge in this series. Honestly, I think the team that recovers best all along is going to be the team that ends up doing best long term. This game aside, they got to fix some stuff up, but I really think recovery is going to be huge. So I think the 2 days in between will be wonderful for them.
Lots of reflecting.
Yeah, or Fortnite if that's what it takes.
Fortnite's fun, okay?
Yeah, and yes, I actually. So when I thought you were going to put me on the spot and have to choose a player of the game, I was going to choose Verhaeghe, but I was like, is that too self-gratuitous? Because I did pick him as the X factor. But thank you,
Hernan
thank
pumped
you,
your
Reid.
tires too.
Yeah. It was a great call. Great call.
Thank you.
I said it on the pregame show, but when you asked Paul Maurice going into game one about Verhaeghe and why he seems to rise to the occasion and become such a playoff performer, he talked about the chaos of the regular season and the postseason. And I love that when he used the term frequency.
Yeah.
Where Verhaeghe's frequency and playoff frequency align, and it just seems to be in rhythm.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was a nice way of putting it. Maurice, we've talked about it on our stations. Like at times he can be a bit much in his press conferences and kind of has that air to him, but sometimes it's just pure gold what he says, and that was one of the
Yeah, he hit that one for sure.
Yeah.
I totally understood it. He is a bit verbose, but
verbose.
Yeah,
Great
but
term.
for that one, I get it too, because in my own life, sometimes when things are chaotic, that's when I function best. So I was like, I understand, Carter. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, a couple of texts here. Stan says, I think the Oilers are giving Florida too much room coming out of the zone. If their D step up like Florida does, they could cause more turnovers. When the Oilers get good forechecks going, Florida could not handle them. Smokey the Bear says, you do not bench Mr. Game 4 in Game 4, talking about Skinner.
Fair.
And then says, I love Nurse looking like a complete madman when he was in the dirt with one of the rats towards the end there. That was the fight with Gadjevich. Very spirited. Both guys bloodied after that one. This one says, I think the NHL needs to go to an double IHF style of reffing. A penalty is a penalty at any point in the game. The standard is set the way the NHL refs call games. 100% influences the outcomes of it.
Well, talk about double IHF. So hard to pronounce quickly. I do like the ref cam. I think
it is neat.
That is fun. It's just fun. Yeah.
Hey guys, and one last thing here.
Go ahead.
For everybody that's worried about this team and hasn't paid attention for the last 2 months on how good they are and how well they respond, you know how many straight Game 4s they've won?
Enlighten us.
9.
All right, there you go. Those are good odds.
So
those are really good odds.
I'm just baffled, guys, Jolene and Tom, about how much negative Nellies there are after this game. Like, have you not watched this team at all this year, especially in the playoffs? Like,
and the longer you're around sports of any kind, the more you realize that people expect to lose a certain amount of games. They're not going to win. It was never going to be a sweep. It was probably going to go to Game 7. So this is just, the prophecy playing out, basically.
It's a roller coaster ride of emotions.
Luckily, I have no feelings. It's so convenient. It's so convenient.
I do. I get wrapped up and people are yelling at me. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, it's so good. The Latino heat was getting a little bit picante there. Reid was very blunt and Matt was good. You know what? That's a crappy way to lose. They lost it. They played like that. They bottomed out. Only way to go now is up.
Agreed.
There you go. Hey, great job today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you being on the pre- and post-game show. It was fantastic. Good to have you on.
Thank you guys for having me. Everybody at home.
Awesome stuff. Nancito, great work as always, my friend.
Yeah. Look forward to Game 4, everybody. Great job, Jolene.
Thank you.
All right. That's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Edmonton gets absolutely waxed 6-1 by the Florida Panthers in Game 3. We'll see if Mr. Game 4 and the team show up on Thursday night and even this series up coming back to Edmonton for Saturday. I think they'll be much better than they were tonight. Get off to a better start. Everybody dialed in. Get some saves. All that good stuff. Don't go to the penalty box. And I think we're talking about a different outcome on Thursday. We're going to be live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street. Join us, won't you? We always appreciate it. Big thank you to Curtis and Tony and Char and the entire staff here at Boston Pizza Westgate. For Jolene Latimer from The Score, and Hernan Salas, and Reid Wilkins, and Matt Cassian, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you no matter what. Win, lose, or draw. No more draws in hockey, but whether you agree or disagree, thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.
See ya.